Well, Mondays are normally the most boring day starting the weekday. However, here on DWZ, we try not to make it so boring for everybody. So today we're going to have some three reviews to talk about. First one is the much recent event by Wrestling Revolver Drip, featuring two dream matches. The first one features uh, Ninja Mac versus Johnny Revolver, or as we know him as Johnny Multiple, and of course, the International Dream Match, Jonathan Gresham versus Kushida. But of course, we have the Wrestling Revolver World Title, Tag Team titles, and the Remix titles are on the line. Then, of course, we have New Japan Pro Wrestling with the 51st anniversary weekend event show at Tokyo, featuring, of course, two matches of the first round New Japan Cup. And, of course, the main event features the IWGP Heavyweight Tag Team titles between challengers, the Dream Team, Hiroshi Tanahashi and Kaguchika Okada, taking on the champions Bushimon. And then, of course, our last final review will be AEW Dark Elevation with 8 stacked matches at the Cow Palace. We're also going to do some news updates to tell what's been going on in the world of pro wrestling. So, let's get ready for another episode of Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Welcome everyone to the Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J Rod here. So, let's begin with Wrestling Revolver Drip. This is just one of the recent events that they posted out for this month. This took place on the 4th of March. Opened up right away with the Wrestling Revolver World Championship on the line in a street fight between Steve Macklin, who recently won that title not about 2 months ago after Trey Miguel actually beat JT Dunn. Then he cashed in his golden ticket for it. He faces Rich Swann, who I don't think he's ever held his title, but this match was much of a brutal match as ever. Not to mention, Steve Macklin didn't waste time coming out when Swann came out of the ramp, so they were going back and forth. But it was Macklin with an elevated KIA on to the door to put away Swann for him to retain his title. So the obvious question is, who will be next to challenge him? Now, Wrestling Revolver received a interesting video package from uh, Masha Slamovich issuing a challenge to Sami Callihan, telling him that she will face him in a death match. And I believe that is going to take place in May, but we yet to hear from what Sami said. But however, Sami wasted no time, so he gradually accepted the challenge. So we're going to see how this is going to go. Now, our next match is the NWA World Welterweight Historic Welterweight Championship. Now, this is a title that Rocky Romero won recently in CML against Volador Jr. And I think they had who they had for this match. Oh yeah, Jake Chris and Lince Dorada. So it's interesting that this belt has been sanctioned. I know that Rocky said that he was willing to put this title on the line anywhere in the world. Doesn't matter if it's in Mexico, Japan, or here. But he put it on against 3 men. But however, it was Rocky Romero who won the match when he removed Dorada's mask, applying a armbar onto him to force him to tap out. So basically, he played a little dirty trick and ensuring himself that he retained the title. Next match, we have two men, big behemoths. We have the one called Manders and Crash Jackson. I have to say, this was a pretty good match. I think two big individuals are amazing. Now, the obvious question, how is this going to go down? Who was going to take the much bigger route? I mean, for me, it was a little difficult to kind of envision the outcome. I mean, Crash Jackson has been on a roll before, showing his superiority in Wrestling Revolver countless times. But however, it was Manders who picked up the win when he applied a big lariat onto him. One, two, three, it was over just like that. Next match we have is of course the Remix Championship. Alex Shelley puts it on the line against the Monster Hunter Matthew Palmer. Uh, I don't know exactly what to make of it, but it was a really interesting match. However, Alex Shelley took one of Palmer's potents. He looks more like he was about to pass out or throw up or whatever's going on. But it did play a little dirty trick by Alex Shelley to apply a somewhat of a crossface onto Matthew Palmer to retain the title. So he played a dirty trick himself to remain as the Remix champion. Next up, we have a trios action. We have the unit consisting of that scumbag JT John, along with the infrared Taylor Matrix and Logan James, taking on the debut of the Death Dolls, Rosemary, Taya Valkyrie, and Jessica. I thought it was a good match in every possible way, but as you know, JT Dunn is the most despicable person. He knocked out Jessica with a forearm right in the face, giving the unit the opportunity to win. So I wouldn't be surprised if they get the revenge because apparently Logan James paid the price when he got pile drive by Jessica. So I wouldn't be surprised if the unit goes to war against the Death Dolls. Next up, Dan the Dad. As you know, we haven't seen him for quite some time since losing the tag team titles to the Bullet Club members. But all of a sudden, we saw Matthew Renwall, who's sick and tired of him with his attitude as the dad that he is. So he brings out Madman Fulton to help to deal with them. And Dan the Dad tried to pull up a good fight against them, but the monsters are just too much until he pulled a lower back Boston Crab onto him, forcing him to tap out. But however, he was about to punish more Dan than that until Crash Jackson out of nowhere, even though people can say it's not their business, but he did it anyway. So he showed up and made Madman Fulton run. I wouldn't be surprised that there's going to be a match between those two in the next um, Wrestling Revolver event. Okay. Next up, first time ever. Ninja Mac versus Johnny Revolver. Um, no, also we know him as Johnny Nitro, Johnny Mundo, Johnny Impact, or just simply Johnny Multiple. This is the I have to say it was a good match because sometimes first time matches are the most interesting ones because you anticipate that type of thing. We've seen this before, especially for example, like what we saw AJ Styles versus Finn Balor, the Demon King. I think that tells it all. But I was impressed by this match in every way. But however, some mysterious masked assailant shows up, and it turned out to be Dan the Dad. Like I don't know what was that all about. But however, it was Johnny Revolver that applied a schoolboy and picked up the win. But however, I don't know what is the purpose of Dan the Dad showing up. That is still unclear. I know he lost earlier, but it made no sense. So hopefully one day we can figure that out. Now we do got an international dream match. We have Jonathan Gresham, the Octopus, taking on the Time Splitter, Kushida. Another good match by any means. So now you probably can guess that maybe Jonathan Gresham could win, but no. We have seen Kushida evolve in many times. Not only he's a great high flyer, but he knows how to put people in submissions. He has great ways of uh, try to counter every move as possible. But however, there was a moment where, of course, Gresham uh, kicked Kushida right in the groin and hoping that could help him win. But however, somehow he countered the bridge onto Kushida countered the bridge into a reversal onto Gresham to pick up a win. I wouldn't be surprised if Gresham demands another rematch or whatever, but nonetheless, it was a good match. Next up, we have our main event, the Pro Wrestling Revolver World Tag Team titles. In a three-way match, we have the crowned Bullet Club, consistent of Chris Bay and Ace Austin, taking on the Rascals, Trey Miguel and Zachary Wentz, taking on the second gear crew, Matthew Justice and Mance Warner. This match was a total beatdown and brutal. Now, keep in mind, when it comes to second gear crew, they try to pull out every toy to ensure they can pick up a good win. That's always been their MO. You probably thought that that's how it was going to end. No, Trey Miguel was able to find a way to pull the referee without suspicion to stop the second gear crew from winning. But it only took a bit of a move to put away Mance Warner through a door, giving time for the Rascals. 1, 2, 3, they won. They became our brand new Wrestling Revolver World Tag Team Champions. I don't know what this means for the ABC from Bullet Club. I have to presume that that they probably will ask for a rematch to face one on one. So we'll just gotta wait and see from that. So I think that's pretty much it. So let's move on with New Japan Pro Wrestling. Okay, New Japan Pro Wrestling with the 51st anniversary show in Tokyo. Now, keep in mind, we already started the New Japan Cup. Only 2 matches have been announced for this one. But however, certain matches features more like a preview to what's to come for the upcoming New Japan Cup matches. Now, we're still in the first round, just to keep everybody in mind. Now, our opening match, we have TMDK, consistent with Kosa Fujita and Zack Sabre Jr. taking on Bullet Club's El Fantasmo and Kenta. Now, keep in mind, as you know, Zack Sabre Jr. has taught, of course, Kosa Fujita many of the submission moves that he would be valuable to him. But however, he had the you probably can guess that this match would fall in favor to Bullet Club in some capacity because, as you know, Fujita, who is still a young lion, is the weakest link. But we have seen how strong he is. The only time he could pick up a good win if he actually defeats another young lion. But however, it was Kenta with the label lock onto Kosa Fujita to pick up the win, making Zack Sabre watch while his protege tapped. Now, keep in mind there was a moment in this match where Kosa Fujita had him right where he wanted him, but Kenta counter. But we will see those two counter each other soon enough between Zack Sabre Jr. and Kenta. Next up, we got the United Empire, consisted of Will Ospreay and Aussie Open, Fletcher and Davis taking on Satoshi Kojima, Toru Yano, and Tama Tonga. I thought this match was pretty good, but however, there are those who are saying that Will Ospreay is the favorite to win the New Japan Cup, but there's others that could possibly. Naito is one of them, and of course, some say Tama could be the next logical step. But in this case, it was Yano who suffered the loss when he was put in the Coriolis by Aussie Open, allowing for Fletcher to pick up the win. 1, 2, 3. This is one good win for the United Empire. Now, our next match, we have the House of Torture. Dick Togo, Show, and Evil once again getting the faces of Strong Style. Now, keep in mind that a while back we did see, of course, Strong Style defeat the House of Torture when they challenged them for the never open weight 6-man tag team titles. This was a huge moment for them, but in this case, you can tell that Evil would stop at nothing to get retribution because they tried to take out Ren Narita many times, but it was Desperado with El Pinche Loco onto Dick Togo, allowing for Strong Style to win. But the feud between them is not far from over. Evil will stop at nothing to destroy Ren Narita to shut him up once and for all. But you know Ren, he will not back down from any fight as long as Despy and Suzuki are by his side. Next match we have is the United Empire. The other members, Aaron Henare, Great Okan, and Jeff Cobb versus Lij Sanada, uh, Shingo Takagi, and Naito. Now, Takagi will be facing Henare in the New Japan Cup in the first round. So this is going to be interesting because Henare has spoken time and time again that this is his time because when he was Hantai, he was the weakest link, but since joining the United Empire, he has become more dangerous than he has ever been. So it was a very interesting matchup. But however, Sonata, who we still yet to see more of him because, as you know, in the New Japan Cup, we saw him with that amazing move that he applied. We were yet to see it, but in this case, this match ended with Hinare applying the Street of Rage onto him, picking him the win. But however, rule of thumb, not only he will be challenging, will be facing him in the New Japan Cup, Shingo Takagi is the current KOPW champion. And that is a title that I know Hinaro would stop at nothing to get. They're trying to get United Empire back on track since not having a lot of the gold in their waist. Keep in mind, Will Ospreay lost the IWGP United States title to Kenny. So we'll see what happens. We know Jeff Cobb also has interest in that title. So we'll see what goes on then. Next up, we have Chaos members Leo Rush and Yo taking on LIJ's Bushi and Haramu. I think this match was pretty interesting because, as you know, Leo Rush will be challenging for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship against Haramu. Now, this is the first time these two have encountered. I'm sure Haramu would look at nothing for fun for this. But in this case, it was, of course, Leo Rush that sent the message to Haramu when he applied the last hour to Bushi. 1, 2, 3, it's over. So the real question, should Haramu be concerned over Leo Rush? I would say yes, unless he's too paranoid not to lose the title at all, since he won it back at Wrestle Kingdom. Now our next match is the first of the is part of the New Japan Cup first round. We have Yujiro Takahashi taking on Shota Umino. Now, from what Kevin Kelly and Chris Carlton mentioned, it appears there's some history between these two. Shota Umino used to call Yujiro Uncle Huge. Really, he was always took care of him when he was a kid, but now he was that one person that went to the dark side. And this was a pretty good, interesting match. But I knew from the moment Yujiro was in this match, it wouldn't be long until someone from the House of Torture would help him out, and that is that moron Sho. Once again, tries to help him, but it did not work. Shota Umino applied the Death Rider on both Sho, and then finally on Yujiro, giving him the win. So he advanced into the next round. Now, next match, we have David Philly, and this is the shocker that happens. He is now a member of the Bullet Club, dubbing himself the Rebel. Now, remember what happened. He attacked Jay White, telling him what a worthless moron he was, that he was at the top, and now that he lost it. So basically, this is more like he's taking his position, and Geto was by his side. Now, what does that tell us in that matter? Does this mean David Finlay is the brand new leader of the Bullet Club? More than likely. I mean, we have seen leaders come and go in the history of the Bullet Club. I mean, first it was Prince Devitt, as we know him as Finn Balor. Then, of course, AJ Styles, Kenny Omega, now Jay White. Now this is happening. So that's kind of like, oh boy, this is going to be interesting to see. So his opponent is going to be none other than Tomohiro Ishii. Now Ishii is the toughest SOB that we know. He doesn't back down from a fight one way or the other. You know he's always looking for a fight. But do you think that this is one of those matches where, of course, Finlay would try to beat him without any help? He did. He applied the Trash Panda onto him. 1, 2, 3. So Geto now is saying that the Bullet Club needs the Rebel, that the wrestling world needs the Rebel. So that tells us all. I'm sure Juice Robinson is probably happy that his closest friend is now part of it. But now he's the leader of the Bullet Club. So if that's the case, then good for them. Now our main event features the IWGP Heavyweight Tag Team titles. The Dream Team, Tanahashi and Okada, taking on Bushimon, Yoshihashi, and Hiroki Goto. I thought this match was fantastic because there have been instances, according to what Kevin Kelly and Chris Carlton said, there have been instances in New Japan history where teams like Okada and Tanahashi, people like them who have no tag team experience whatsoever, when they brought up together, win the matches. That's always been a thing that's been known for in the past. But however, this is one of those matches where they were put to the test against the best tag team in the world, which is Bushimon. But however, they were unable to apply the Shoto onto them like on various occasions. But it was a different type of move that they tried to put away Tanahashi, giving them the win. And the promo was pretty good by Yoshihashi. As you know, cheering his back, and I think that's something great for them. And they did end it with a very interesting thing. Was hoping that somehow we're gonna see Aussie Open that would definitely come out and try to challenge them for the tag titles. But however, I'm going to presume that probably they both want to focus on the New Japan Cup since they're in it. But we'll see what happens then. Let's move on with AEW Dark Elevation. Okay, our final review, AEW Dark Elevation. First match, we have Marina Shafir and Nyla Rose taking on the team. Nope, it's not me. J Rod, the other J Rod I mentioned before, and Sandra Moon. So those two will be. I kind of figured this was going to go in favor of Shafir and Nyla Rose when they applied that somewhat of a DDT, and of course it was uh, Marina Shafir that picked up the win. Yeah, I think it was it was Nyla Rose that picked up the win onto Sandra Moon. 1, 2, 3, it's over right from there. Next up, we got Brian Cage with Prince Nana taking on Rob Knight. I'm sure Rob Knight I may recognize. Must be Rob shit. I'm not sure because he looks just like him, but we all know why he cannot have that name. I don't think they will allow that on TV. But Rob McKnight is okay, not a big deal. But the interesting is, normally when it comes to Brian Cage, we would see him apply the drill claw or whatever, the Swolverine or something like that. But he used a different move instead. That was very unusual from him. So he applied a submission instead. And I cannot remember the last time he's ever used a submission move. But nonetheless, I'm gonna say he's probably improving in his wrestling craft. So I say I give him props for that. So I think that's it for that for now. Next up, we have Juice Robinson versus Titus Alexander. You can guess that Rock Hard did his job until he applied the juices loose and it was over. So good night, Titus Alexander. Next up, we have Layla Gray, the only lone baddie, taking on Sky Blue. I thought this match was good because, we normally don't see wrestlers who already, like, they normally put the enhanced wrestlers to do their job. But this was a very interesting one. But it was Sky Blue with the Sky Fall, which is the flatliner that helped Sky Blue win many of her matches. 1, 2, 3, it was done just like that. Next up, we have Cole Carter taking on the Fallen Angel. Christopher Daniels. You can guess that this match was going to fall in favor with the veteran. But of course, this match doesn't end with one thing only: best moonsault ever. So that ended the match for Daniels, and good night to Carter. Next up, we have Brooke Havoc taking on Athena in a ROH Women's Championship Eliminator match. You can guess this match ended once again with the crossface by Athena, but in this case, it was in this case, like always, we have seen Athena with her attitude attacking her opponents. Luckily, Willow Nightingale showed up to give a helping hand, so that sets it all. Then we have Lance Archer versus Jake Banning. This one ends when he said, "Everybody dies," and boom, a lariat. It was done right there. Our next match we have is Lee Johnson taking on Evil Uno. As you know, Evil Uno has now stepped up more as a singles competitor. I have to say I'm very happy that he has stepped up the game to that. But it took him with the pile driver to put away Lee Johnson, giving him to win. So some good matches took place I did like, but yeah. So I think that's pretty much it with AEW right now. I believe it's time to move on to end this episode with some news updates. Okay, welcome to our news updates. Now, this is a bit of old news for maybe a day or two old. Now, some of you may notice something odd in AEW. I mentioned Lee Johnson. I have mentioned Cole Carter. I have mentioned Aaron Solo. Has anybody noticed something odd about this? Then you guys noticed? Yes, it turns out that the factory, the faction in AEW, the factory is no longer around. They have been disbanded. Now, some even may question why would they do that. Apparently, QT Marshall's not feeling like not a lot of the response is getting well with the factory. But I mean, we've seen this before with many, like the Nightmare Collective, where they had to shut it down and then because of certain things that many fans did not like. But that's how it was. Now, our next update here, as you know, WrestleCon is getting closer and closer. They just announced four more people, and I think this one you guys are going to like. They announced that Andrade El Idolo will be there. So will the handsome devil Hook, CJ Perry, also better known as Lana, and finally the American Dragon Bryan Danielson will be there. I know for a fact that's going to be a huge sellout right there. So if you guys are planning to go to WrestleCon, better get ready for that. Black Label Pro has announced for the Squared Circle Expo on the 7th of April. They announced that Billy Stark will be facing Su Young, who is debuting in this promotion. I can't wait to see what Billy Stark's going to do because if I were her, I would be very afraid of Su Young. You don't want to be around. Our next update for GCW, the worst behavior, that's going to take place in Toronto later on this month on the 19th. Masha Slamovich will be facing Mike Bailey. I think that's going to be a really good match. Now, interesting developments have come up with Tokyo Pro Wrestling. It was announced that two trainees have been announced to be part of this. First one we have, her real name is Momo, but her ring name has been decided to go to Okubo Ruhan. She's about 155 centimeters. I don't know how's that, 5 foot or whatever. Was born on June 15, 2008. She was from the Saitama Prefecture. She's currently 14 years old. Fell in love with pro wrestling under the influence of her parents. Her target athlete is Yuki Kamifuku. I'm not sure if she's tall as her, but it would make sense. Her hobbies and skills are cooking and dancing. So that's interesting. And our final trainee they announced, this one, his name is Haru. Her name will be known as Fujo Haru. She's about 156 centimeter, born on March 28, 2008. Born in Tokyo, which is good. She learned Tokyo Pro Wrestling through street wrestling and became a fan of Maki Ito and Bakushimu. After seeing Nodoka graduate, she decided to become a pro wrestling. Her hobby is tokusatsu. I don't know what that is. So these are the latest trainees that they have. Now, our final update, as you guys know, we are getting closer to the New Blood Premium. This is the card that they announced. We're gonna have Hanan and Hinan versus Momokogo and Sayahida versus Rina and Ruka. And then finally, we have the Cosmic Angels, Tam Nakano and Wako Tsukiyama taking on Nane Takahashi and a partner of her choosing, who we yet to discover who it is. Then after that, we have Azuki facing one of the new girls, Niman, Minami Komomo. Then Julia will be facing Aya Sakura, who has already been mentioned. And then we have a tag team challenge with Himeka and Maika taking on Lady C and the new girl Hanako. And then, of course, we have Miyu Amasaki versus Sudi. And then, of course, we got the tag team, the New Blood Tag Team title tournament in the semifinals. The first match is going to be Ma Sakurai and Shanyota taking on Starlight Kid and Karma. This is going to be interesting. Keep in mind, Ma Sakurai had dealt with both Karma and Sakurai. Ma Sakurai acts like she thinks she can stop Karma, but Karma doesn't play by anybody's rules. And then we're going to have the second match features a bit of a God's Eye showdown. Team number one, we have Mirai and Tomoka Inaba versus Ami Sore versus Nanami. And then after that, there will be a tag team final. We don't know who will. If I was gonna make a betting, I'm kind of happy thinking that it would be Starlight Kid and Karma. That's what I would think. They already unveiled the brand new titles. There's have some pictures that I will put at the end of this news update so you guys can check it out. So I think that's pretty much it right now with this with everything else. Let's just call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Just to give you guys the lowdown, I still haven't seen the latest GCW events. Um, what's it, Holy Smokes and Ransom, and there's other ones I haven't seen just yet. But we are gonna have Tuesday wrestling. In case anybody knows, we're not only gonna have just NWA Power, AEW Dark, and of course NXT. As we speak, we're gonna have, of course, the upcoming um, what is it? Baka Guy Jeans and Friends, and I believe we also got the GLEAT um, with the UWF Lit version 3. I think there's going to be possibly 5 events that I'm definitely going to be reviewing, so you guys will be standing by on that. So at the moment, we'll go from there. So I will see you guys in the next DWZ time, same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So goodbye. Mwah. And have a nice day.